In this episode,
Because of my theatre training, I'm a bit of a storyteller. So I never don't storytell when I sing a song, even if it's a bland, boring song. Like I've got to tell a story. So I'm always getting that like, wow, you really tell the story, and I really feel it, and your lyrics are so great, and so I don't know, it's just really it's a special thing to have people being like, I felt that, and you're like, wow, like. It makes me feel really great about myself. At that point, it was all good because I was like, I'm just not ready, and that's okay. It hurt a little bit knowing that I wasn't strong enough to stay. That was the hard thing to deal with because I felt like in high school I had a bit of a thick skin on me, and I was confident in what I did. I was confident in my singing. Like I knew that I was good enough to do it. So there was a confidence about me, and so it was shame, like shame. I couldn't push through. So that was it. But it didn't at that point in time. That didn't stop me. I was just like, okay, I'm going to go back home, going to earn money, going to try again. But we just had to switch from like, okay, how are we going to get these passengers off board? So that was the thing. It was like all of us crew, still human, still also wanting to get off. We had to switch to like, okay, how can we help these guys? So it was a little bit chaotic in terms of that stress of things. I was never scared of COVID itself on board. Like I felt fine, felt safe. It was just the annoyance or I don't like saying annoyance, sorry, but like it was just the stress of like the uncertainty. Like I was very lucky to have a Kiwi guy in the cast, so he was a really good friend of mine, and we had to say goodbye to all of a majority of our cast were from the UK, and so they immediately sent these guys a charter flight, so they got to leave. So that first was the first stress of like the unknown of like not seeing our like best mates anymore. So that was the first stress. And then it was like, okay, how are we getting home? And they were like, we might put you on Canada's charter flight. So we're like, okay, pack our lives up, waiting to like leave. And then they're like, New Zealand, no, you're not going. And so that was stressful. We were trying to figure out ways of how the heck we're going to get home because there were only 3 Kiwis on board and they're not going to send us a charter flight. So it was just the stress of the uncertainty of like, how's this going to work out? How the heck are we going to get home? We can't go on a commercial flight. Are we stuck here? If so, I need to just be told. Just wanted to put myself out there more, go into a little bit more of the gig scene. There's a professional musical theatre company down there to audition for that. So my mind was like, okay, there's quite a lot of music opportunities down there, but I didn't do the hard yards and put myself out there whatsoever. I don't know. I just did auditions that came up, but there's a lot more you need to do besides just auditioning. I had some help with the first tune I created, and then all of a sudden one night I wrote my debut single that's out, Gotta Let Go, and one night by myself on the keys and singing, and I was like, oh, I wrote a song and I like it. So that's when that spark happened. And this whole new journey that I've gone on since mid 20 no, that was more, that would have been 2022 that I started writing. Yeah, beginning of 2022. And since then, my whole music path has just gone in a different direction, and it's been epic. I love it.
Eve,
Yes,
thank you for taking time out and coming and talking to us today.
absolutely.
Really appreciate it. What I'd like to do is start with a question that's based on the name of the show.
Yes.
What would you consider your life's work to be? How would you describe that?
I'm a singer. I'm a musician, musical theatre performer, anything singing, anything performing. That's
Yeah,
me.
That's you.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that?
I was first up on stage at 5 years old.
Right.
Yeah, obviously not professionally that long, but
Yeah.
I've had a love for it for a wee while.
Yeah. Sure. So let's talk about your childhood then, right? So how did you get into musical theatre at 5? What kind of background have you got? What talks about your family and your upbringing?
So I think I've got to give it to my older brother, because he was put into speech and drama when he was young. Bit of a performer. He's gonna love me for saying that. So yeah, bit of a performer, and so I think from that, my mum put then my sister into speech and drama, and then I want to do everything my sister does, obviously. So yeah, I kind of just followed the older siblings. Also, I know that my mother wanted me to get into speech and drama too, because I had a real husky voice, and so she's like, we need to have people understand you. You need to speak clearly. So yeah, through that, just through speech and drama, through gaining confidence, came wanting to go into other venues like singing. I think actually I've got to give singing to my older sister. She loved singing, and then I wanted to be better than her at everything. So yeah.
So from that, am I taking it? Are you the youngest of 3?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
right.
the baby.
Yeah. Okay. And so whereabouts were you born, raised?
Just outside of Whakatāne on a farm.
Right.
Yeah. Great
Cool.
childhood.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what kind of character were you
Ooh.
as a young Eve growing up on a farm?
As a young Eve, I feel like some of my older cousins and my older siblings would probably say I was a bit of a brat. But I wouldn't say that about myself. Angel.
Why would they say that?
I
Give us
don't
some
know.
examples.
It's the whole thing with, like, the youngest one gets spoiled, but I don't know. It wasn't my fault. No, I'm joking. I would say I was quite adventurous, I think. My cousins lived just down the road, so I had a cousin who was my age. He was like my best friend. We'd go out on the farm all the time and, just be children, get in the mud, going to the river. So yeah, I was adventurous, creative. Yeah, played farm animals with them all the time. Jumping on the trampoline. I don't know. Yeah, adventurous maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. And so parents, what were it?
Farmer.
Farmers.
Yeah, my dad's a farmer.
I mean, it sounds obvious, right? But I had to check.
No, yeah, it's all good.
You could have just lived on a farm.
Yeah. No, your dad's a farmer. He grew up in farming, so then became a farmer. Mum did a few other jobs, and then obviously when us children came to life, she had to become full-on mum and farmer's wife. So yeah, very, very grateful for that dynamic, because if it weren't for mum, I wouldn't have done all the, extra activities, singing, speech and drama, dancing, all of that, because dad had to be on the farm. But if it weren't for dad, I wouldn't have got the, rougher going out on the farm and helping him shift the cows and things like that. So it was a really cool balance I found.
Yeah.
So yeah, very lucky.
Yeah. Sounds cool. That's good. So from a creative point of view then, how did that start? Where did you, like you said, you were on stage, I think, from 5?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that. What was your first performance like?
So
if you can remember.
As far as I remember, an audition came up in Whakatāne for a show called Burlesque on Broadway. And so I went there with my sister. Again, I've got to 100% give it to my sister that I even got in, because I just remember at the audition they had all kids in lines. I was stood beside my sister, and we had to sing, I think, a song from Annie. Oh, we were probably doing Hard Knock Life from Annie. And because I had my sister beside me, I was confident. And so it was just I don't want to say yelling contest because I'm sure I was trying to sing, but it was just like, outdoing each other. As soon as you would put me by myself, I was shy. I was quiet. So if it weren't for my sister being beside me, probably wouldn't have got in. So, yeah.
And so were you like that as a child within the family as well? Like when you say shy, was that just shy on stage in front of other people, or were you that kind of child as well elsewhere?
It's a difficult one because, even getting asked like introverted or extroverted, it was I'm a bit of an in between. As a child, definitely a mama's girl. Like I would want me mummy around. I know when she took me to school, I just clung on to her for dear life. But as soon as you got me around like my group, my people, I was in your face. I was annoying. So it was, yeah. Once I was comfortable, I came out of my shell. So I would just say shy as opposed to introverted.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know.
So shy around new people then. Once you
I'm
got
just
familiar.
figuring out if they're my people, if they're who I want to give my energy to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So how much older are your siblings then?
I know my older brother just turned 30. And I think my sister is, I think she's 28. Sorry, guys. Yeah, 30, 28, and I'm 25.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So not a big distance between you then.
Nah.
So when you refer to older, they're just slightly older.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so when you were that age then and you started sort of performing at 5 and you're doing it alongside your siblings, so you've got your sister, so you've got confidence.
Yeah.
What were you thinking that, when I grow up, I want to be? What were you thinking at that point? Did you have any thoughts?
Oh,
was that of interest to you, that side of things, or not?
Honestly, I would have no idea. I'm just assuming my little young mind just wanted to do what my big sister was doing, and do it as good as I can. Yeah. So I don't think at the age of 5 I would have been like, this is my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think so.
No.
Not yet. Anyway.
But when you were at school then, so what were you thinking? Did you have any kind of dreams as a young kid about, wanting to be a superhero or or whatever, like as we do when we're growing up?
Yeah. No, I do think a few productions in, there was a click that I was like, oh my goodness, I love this feeling. So definitely majority of my life I've always wanted to be a singer. Love performing, love making people feel things through music. So yeah, I can't remember which production it was. Probably when I did Sound of Music, which I think might have been the 3rd show I was in. And that one's quite an emotional one. And I just remember my dramatic child self was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. So yeah, in primary. Yeah.
So there was nothing else then? You didn't want to grow up being a farmer or a...
No. There was a stage in my life, young, that I would go on the farm every day with Dad. Me and my cousin would go on the farm every day. And I was like, if any of my siblings, it's going to be me that's a farmer. It's going to be me. But no, quickly grew out of that. I love it. I love the nature side of things. But no, farming's not cut out for me.
Yeah. Okay. There was a couple of things that we said about that 3rd production. A couple of times you mentioned feelings, right? The way that you felt about that. You love the feeling. And then, but you also talked about making how you make other people feel. Can you talk to us a bit about that? About, what's the attraction of it? How does it feel to be a performer? And, what do you get out of it? And what do you like to give out of it? What is that about?
I just think there's something really, really special about moving people through song, through lyrics, even just like beautiful melody. Because I've had people come up to me and be like, oh my goodness, that was my brother's song. He just recently passed, and I felt him around, and it's just like, wow, like I can't believe that I like brought that out for you. Like it's an incredible feeling, and just because of my theatre training, I'm a bit of a storyteller, so I never don't storytell when I sing a song, even if it's a bland, boring song. Like I've got to tell a story. So I'm always getting that like, wow, you really tell the story, and I really feel it, and your lyrics are so great, and so I don't know, it's just really, it's a special thing to have people being like, I felt that, and you're like, wow, like that makes me feel really great about myself.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So, growing up through school, then,
Yeah.
what were you like? As in, like if you're a theatre performer, were you theatrical? And what kind of things were you up to as a young teenager going through school?
Teenager.
How did that kind of shape who you were? Did it start to shape who you were?
I think so. I had theatrical friends, so I guess. Oh yeah. I'm trying to think back. Yes, I guess there was a dramatic side, although I wasn't super fond of drama, but always somewhat involved in it. So I guess you really feel things, I would say. So there we go. Creatives really feel, emotional people. So yes, I guess my job is also part of who I am, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I answered that right.
Yeah. I was just sort of thinking along the lines of, getting involved in theatre and performing at a young age.
There's a stereotype of like.
Well, maybe it's that. Yeah, but maybe I'm just sort of thinking: does that kind of shape who you become a little bit?
Well, actually, yes. I remember in primary school, and I guess this is super out there and would be like, yes, you're a theatre performer. On like Muffy days in primary school, me and my best friend at the time, we would be like, okay, we have to dress up in the most loudest, colourful outfits. So literally becoming in like leg warmers, fluoro pants, another fluoro shirt. So that's quite something. So yeah.
Expressing yourself, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at what point did you think to yourself, actually, I want to head in this direction of singing? So, was there a choice there between continuing with theatre? I mean, I don't know whether you still do theatre. Yeah. So you didn't make a decision to go.
Oh, like specifically music?
Yeah.
It was always theatre. It was that was always my goal. Songwriting was never my goal. So it was, yes, always wanted to be a singer, but it was probably more so in high school, because that's when you have to start. Not have to, actually. I don't like that high schoolers have to figure out their life, because who knows what we're doing at the end of the day. But that's when I started to be like, okay, what am I doing? What am I working towards? Gosh, I absolutely did not like English, math, science, all those kinds of things in school. So I was very like, in my last few years, I was doing like dance, drama, music, all those things, and working towards, going to performing arts school to make a career out of it. So high school, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe there was more of a click of like, okay, job.
Yeah. So I'm interested in just exploring something I'm thinking about with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just around the creative side of things. You said like English, maths and things like that, there. Was it that you didn't like that, or you weren't that good at it so that you didn't like it? Or was it that you were really liked the creative side and you were focused on that and therefore your energy went that way? Do you have any thoughts on that?
To be completely honest, I was pretty good in school. Well, no, I wasn't amazing, but I was good enough. And I think it got to a stage of laziness probably with those subjects, because I was like, I'm not going to use this in life. So just to be honest, I think I got a bit lazy towards those subjects and was just more like my full-on energy elsewhere, which is probably not the smartest way to go. Because, I was all right. I was all right in school.
Yeah, yeah.
Good, yeah.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because I think when you say not the smartest way to go, but we need creative people, don't we?
Yeah, true.
And I think in this age, we need more. I mean, that's going to be the jobs for the future, right? We're going to have to be creative because a lot of the jobs we've got now are going to be taken up by robots or AI or whatever, right? So, we kind of, our schools push the traditional subjects, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But that feels like to everyone that that's what we should be doing. That's a sensible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But actually, the creative side and expressing ourselves in different ways is really important. And
it is.
We tend to,
would be so
beyond
bored
school,
without
we
it.
tend to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Don't we? As adults, right?
Yeah.
Unless, like yourself, you've gone down that path. But I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
We tend to that tends to drop away.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas actually, maybe it should be a bit more of a thing for everyone.
Definitely. In one way or another, there's a creative path in everyone, whether or not you use it to make a living. But, you need that. You need that creativity in any job, really.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds to me like when you were at school at that point in time then that you were kind of making decisions, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, I'm not so sure, but that you weren't going to be using these subjects in life because you were going to be doing something else over here in the creative space.
Yeah.
And what did that look like at that point in time? What were you thinking that might look like? Was that going to be an artist like you are now, or was it going to be theatre? Yeah.
Theatre, musical theatre was my goal. Although I love anything performing, like I was doing just normal gigs with my sister from a young age at, doing weddings or any celebrations or functions or things like that. So I did love that, but just musical theatre was my ultimate goal because, I don't know, this is just something about theatre. The theatre.
Yes, the theatre.
Yeah.
And so, where did you want to go with that at that point? Where were you thinking that might take you? Did you have any kind of aspirations or?
Just overseas. My current thoughts in high school, my thoughts back then in high school was to go to a performing arts school, which I got into. I got into NIDA in Sydney, and then I went there for a week, and then I got scared and went back home.
Talk to us a bit more about that.
About that, yes.
Yeah, about that experience, right? Because I think that's important. Because obviously you would have learned a lot from that, right?
Yeah. Not anymore. I'm a big girl now. But back then I was such a homebody. I love my family. I love home. I love the comfort of home. And so it was just your standard, I guess, homesickness in a way, just hit with real bad anxiety. I can't do this. I'm not ready. And yes, I could have pushed through, but at the end of the day, I decided to come back home, and I'm happy with how my path has gone. So it's all good. But yeah, it was just, I think, just pure. I want to say not ready, but you can push through that kind of stuff. But for me, I felt I wasn't ready to be away from home.
Yeah, for sure. It's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So how old were you at that point?
18.
Yeah. It is a big deal.
Yeah. It was scary.
And I suppose, you sort of picked up on the fact that, what you said earlier about doing things with your sister and you were, shy unless your sister was alongside you. And
that's on my own.
And then, and that's right. Because you were just saying you were doing gigs like weddings and, other events with your sister. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Sydney by yourself. That's a big change, right?
Yeah. And it was just, it was daunting to be like, oh my gosh, I'm here for a year. It was a year's short course. And just the thought of being there for a year freaked me out. And so came back home to little Whakatāne.
But what was the impact of that on you? Like having gone there, done that, felt the way that you did, and then having to come back. Did that, Disrupt your kind of plans in any way? Did that mess with your mind in any way? At that point in time, if you can go back to that time,
Yeah.
how did that feel, and what did you learn about yourself during that period?
At that point, it was all good because I was like, I'm just not ready, and that's okay. It hurt a little bit knowing that I wasn't strong enough to stay. That was the hard thing to deal with because I felt like in high school I had a bit of a thick skin on me, and I was confident in what I did. I was confident in my singing. Like I knew that I was good enough to do it. So there was a confidence about me, and so it was shame, like shame. I couldn't push through. So that was it. But it didn't, at that point in time, that didn't stop me. I was just like, okay, I'm going to go back home, going to earn money, going to try again.
Yeah, so that's good. And I mean, that's an indication of someone who's got the head screwed on right. He didn't didn't give you the wobbles. It didn't have a knock-on effect around confidence about performing. It was just you acknowledged or recognized it was about actually being away from home is the thing. I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
So that's good. Could have gone one or two ways, couldn't it?
Tried.
Could have thrown you off kilter a little bit from a performance point of view.
Yeah.
So you came back, got home, felt a lot better about that, and then what? Where to from there? What were your decisions from there on?
So I just working, earning money, and saving up to go. Couldn't do Aussie, so I thought, why not London?
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Just harder to get back, so you have to stay longer.
Exactly. So I went to. That would have been around, Feb that I came home from Aussie, saved up money to go to the UK the year after in May. To do more so was to just do a bunch of travel, see the world a little bit. I have a friend from Sweden over there, really close friend of mine. So we did some traveling together. And then I got the 2-year UK visa, so planned to be in London. My sister was there,
right.
My sister and her partner at the time. So I crashed in with them. And then, after the travel and having to settle, having to look for a flat, that's when all those same emotions hit again that I felt in Australia with it being daunting, being away from home. So I went through a couple jobs, and I was fine traveling, but it was once I started having to settle, get a job, do life, that I started to stress out again. So that anxiety started to hit again. So I would say I pushed through a little bit more than I did in Aussie, but I ended up going home again. So that, like when you were speaking of how it pushed your confidence a little bit, that was more of a time of like, oh my goodness, can I not handle being away from home? So yeah, that second time trying again, I was like, oh, okay, do I need to start looking at backup options? I guess everyone says you need to have a backup option, although I don't necessarily believe in that. Well, just gotta have something. But but yeah, I started to I remember me and my sister went to a cafe in London. I took my book with me and I started writing down what else can I do? If I can't handle being away from home, New Zealand's not super stable in the music industry here. We got so much talent, but not as much support here. I guess it being a smaller place, not too sure. Looking at backup options because it pushed down my confidence a little bit, and I was like, maybe I can't do a career in singing. I don't know. So, yeah.
It's interesting, eh? I mean, it sounds like that whenever you're traveling, I suppose that's kind of feels temporary.
Yes.
It's like a holiday.
Yes.
It's not finite, right? It is finite. It's not long-term commitment.
Yeah.
But the minute that you have to start to think about putting down some roots and basing yourself, that feels more permanent. And it becomes a bigger decision, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I like what you're saying about the backup plan. Not really a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit more about that, because I've had that conversation with other people as well.
Yeah. I do get it to an extent, but I would say so many musicians, singers, performers in general probably get that. What's your backup? Like if this falls through, what are you going to do? And I feel like, I don't know, there's something about it being like, I don't need to have that yet. Like I have a focus for this and I'm going to put all of my energy into this. If all else fails, it fails and we've got to figure it out. We'll figure something out. Life will pan out how it's supposed to pan out. But I don't know. I'm a little bit meh with the whole, what's your backup?
Yeah. I had this, I can't remember whether it was, I know that Georgia Lyons spoke about this.
Yeah.
That, she would say, people would say to her, but if this doesn't work out, well, why shouldn't it work out?
Yeah.
It works out for some people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have music.
Yeah.
So why can't I be one of those people it works out for? That kind of dogged attitude, I think, is what's needed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also, and I can't remember whether it was with her or someone else I was talking about that, one of those like YouTube videos. It's apparently, it's labeled as the video that broke the internet or something like that. Oh. Just because it was so popular. It was a speech by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
And he was talking about plan A versus plan B and not having a plan B.
Yeah.
Because if you, split your focus and split your energy, you're not putting everything into making happen what you want to make happen. Exactly. So the minute you start thinking about a backup plan, and it kind of goes against the grain of every other aspect of life where we say, yeah, but if, what's the risk here? And therefore you need something to fall back on. We do that with study, we do it with jobs, we do it with all sorts of things in life, right?
Yeah. It's, although I respect it, like if that's what you want to do, like awesome, go for it. But for me, in my mind, I'm like, if I start thinking of a plan B, like, am I doubting myself? Yeah. Am I doubting, this career that I want to go forth in? So I think, it's a thing of like, no, at the moment, like, I want to stand out and be like, I know I can do this. Yeah. I'm going to put everything into it. Yeah. I'm not going to be like, I know I can do this, but I've got this just in case.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, because what does that element of doubt do to you? What does it, it takes you away from committing, doesn't it? So what did it feel like for you then? You were sitting there, you're in London, I'm taking it.
Yes.
With the book and you're writing down, what are the alternatives here? How, A, what did you come up with? Yeah. And B, how did that feel having to work through that? Was that like a sense of not giving up as such, but did it feel like you were kind of moving away from your dream and your ambition and your passion? Yeah,
it was pretty devastating. I would say I kept strong about it though, because I feel like I was more so in a way also trying to tell myself like, oh, it's okay if you don't want to be a singer, as opposed to pushing through those. We all have to push through those hard times, and I wasn't at the place yet to push through them, so I was trying to tell myself, oh, no, but it's okay though. So I think I was trying to put on a bit of a front for others and also myself. But deep down, yes, it was pretty guttering. It was pretty guttering knowing I wasn't strong enough. But also the options. Growing up in Whakatāne, I was a cinema host, but I also made coffee, and I like to make coffee. We barista. I still do it now. Got to have a bit of a side hustle. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I could open a cafe. Gosh. The difficulties if I actually opened a cafe, oh my goodness. But yeah, it was literally me and my sister were coming up with like names of the cafe. I'm very much into health and well-being. Dietary-wise, I've got a weird diet. So it's just like, I was thinking of more a healthy alternative. Whakatāne doesn't really have that. I know there's lots in Tauranga. But yeah, in Whakatāne, we don't really have a good, healthy, wholesome cafe to go to. So literally was thinking all about that. I don't know. It was a good place to put my mind for that time.
Well, you're still being creative, right?
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. So what changed? Because you didn't go do that, did you?
No, yes. So I came back home again and I got back into that same job. My bosses were beautiful humans. I'm very grateful for them. So I went back into job, earned money. And then my partner at the time, we decided we would go travel together because I still had my 2-year UK visa. So I was like, okay, we'll do this together. So we went, I would have come home, can't remember, near the end of 2018, and then we decided we would travel June 2019. So I went over with him, did a bunch of travel, went through Asia, it was really cool, did a bunch of Europe, and then, went back to London. And that time around was fantastic. I don't know, I give a lot to him in terms of, although we were together, I think it was, I give it to him that he helped me gain my independence in a way. Although you're in a relationship, I don't know if that makes sense, but I felt because of him and his presence, I started becoming more independent and confident. So it was when I went to my job interview, got the job and then started working there. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't freaked out yet. Like, this is fine. I can do this. And it was literally just working in that cafe. Bosses there also, brilliant people. And so it was so exciting for me to be like, I can work in this cafe on the other side of the world from New Zealand. So I was so happy. And so alongside doing that, I was auditioning heaps for lots of cruise ship gigs.
Right.
And so that's what I ended up getting. I got a cruise ship gig on Princess Cruise Lines. So my time in London got cut short and I went to LA, Santa Clarita, for rehearsals in December of 2019. So left my partner at the time in London and went over to America.
Oh, that seems like unfortunate timing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was a weird one. And also, like, now, although I'm happy with how everything went, but now sitting back, I'm like, damn, I really did not make use of that UK visa at all whatsoever. And so part of me is like, now I'm like, how can I figure out how to do it again? Because I did, like, I loved London that time around. Yeah. And so I'm like, I want to go back. But I couldn't say no to that cruise opportunity because it was great. Yeah.
So talk to us a bit about that.
The cruise?
Yeah, the cruise thing. I'm just thinking, though, how long did that last? Because that was December 2019, and I'm thinking, actually, ding, 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 that was just pre-COVID, right?
Yes, it was. So, rehearsal started December. We went on ship in Jan. COVID hit March, got off end of April. So it was short but sweet. It was supposed to be an 8-month contract. But the time I had pre-craziness was incredible. Like, I loved it. I know cruise work doesn't work for some people. They don't like it. They feel isolated. But for me, love traveling, love singing, and I'm getting paid for it. So it was a win-win. I loved my time on board.
I'd like to take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors. I'm really pleased to announce that we have Sharp New Zealand as a sponsor. And it's great to have Sharp on board because as a customer, I can speak about their products and services from personal experience. And it feels good to be able to endorse and recommend a company because of the level of satisfaction we have regarding the services they provide. And across my businesses, we've certainly been impressed with the care and collaboration we've experienced in our dealings with Sharp. It's certainly a brand that we trust. Sharp has a long history of creating breakthrough products designed to meet the needs of people living in New Zealand. Sharp's leadership in technology innovation ensures it's at the forefront of the pack, providing business solutions from printing and photocopying to interactive meeting solutions and ICT phone systems. No matter where you are or what size your organisation, whether you're large or small, Sharp New Zealand can provide their services to you nationwide. If you're looking to upgrade your technology or renew your photocopier leases, talk to your local Sharp team or visit the website at sharp.net.nz. So tell us a little bit about what you were doing on board, right? So from a performance point of view, what were you singing? Was it just you, solo artist? Were you singing with the people? What did that look like?
Yeah, so I was a production vocalist within a cast. There was 4 singers and unsure how many dancers. I think all up there might have been about 13 of us. There were nine dancers then. Unsure of the numbers. But yeah, it was in a production cast, and we had about 4 production shows. So one was very musical theatre, which I loved. One was, so they're all written for the show, so they're not like famous musical productions that we know of. But the writer of have you got good musical knowledge? The writer of Wicked, what's his name?
I don't know. No.
I'm embarrassed that I can't remember his name, but anyway, he wrote one of the productions that we did on there, so that was a woohoo.
Right. Cool.
So yeah, one was a musical theatre production, one was called British Invasion, so it had like the Beatles in it and Queen. One was called Stardust, and that was your old 60s songs. It was that was cute. And the other one was, I've forgotten the name, but it was Sweet Soul. So that was Tina Turner, Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
So it was such a cool variety.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because you don't usually get that when you book a musical. You've got that one production for a year or more. So it was quite cool to be able to jump between different genres.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
cool. But was it also tricky to like learn? How often were you performing these different things?
Honestly, we at that point in time we were doing 15-day cruises, and when you have the same group of people, you're not going to repeat a show.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's embarrassing to say, but like 3 nights out of the 15-day cruise.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was cruisy on the cruise.
It was pretty cruisy. It was a sweet gig. We had like little like one-off like performances we would do during the day sometimes. So like smaller numbers. But yeah, but that was because we were doing 15-day cruises. We were just about to head into 7 days, but it got wild.
Yeah. So you're working 3 nights out of 15.
Ish, yes.
Got no costs on board, obviously, right? To be looked after.
No costs.
And getting paid. So did it feel pretty much like a bit of a holiday?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like it was nuts. I remember 1st of Feb, like waking up and like, oh, I'm in Hawaii. Like, what are we going to do today? Like, incredible. And I was, to me, I was like, how do people not like this? But I was obviously very fresh, so everything was just so new to me. The ship was massive, although I know that we had a little bit of a smaller one. The buffet was incredible, although I know that there was a better one on another ship, but I was like, this is amazing to me. I'm stoked.
I suppose it's like anything, right? The longer you do it, the more the novelty sort of wears off and things like that. But,
exactly. And I know that you can kind of, it's amazing. And amazing that people do it. But I know you can get caught up in that, like just constantly doing cruises, which kind of drags you out of, the scene, the music scene, wherever you're from. So it's hard to like get back into that. So you're like, oh, I'll just go back to the job that I know, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So while I mean, it was only a few months, right? But nevertheless,
it was a job.
It was, yeah. And also, but it was a bit longer than, say, a holiday or typical kind of travel.
This is true.
And how was the anxiety about being away from home and kind of on your own?
It was so fine. It was all good. The hard thing for me was saying goodbye to my partner at the airport in London. That was horrible. So first couple days, probably a bit more than a couple days, that was difficult. So yeah, still, having that. Well, actually, no. It's very common to be sad to say goodbye to your partner. So I was going to say standard emotions that you feel.
Sure.
But once I got into the swing of things, once I made friends with this amazing cast, I was good.
And so sorry to pry a little bit, but was that a permanent goodbye to your partner, or was that just I'm going on this job and we're still together?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that affect your relationship?
It was actually fine. It was all good. Obviously missed each other. But no, it was fine. And it was guttering because right before everything got shut down, he was about to come on for a month and do some Hawaii cruise with me, 2 Hawaii cruises with me, because one of the perks of the job was getting people on for cheap.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he was about to come on for a month.
Yeah.
But no, we were good. We were solid.
Yeah. Good. So yeah, the pandemic hits.
Yeah.
What's happening then to you in your life?
My
story?
life. Ooh. Obviously he was on cruise. I think we were the second ship to get hit. We were the Grand Princess, and I think there was a Diamond Princess in Japan, if I'm correct, that got hit first. And then it came to us. I just remember getting like the announcement, and everyone was like, no, like it was like wild. Then we had to switch into other jobs. I became security. I had to go on a security shift from like 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. to make sure all the passengers were staying in their cabins, which I hated doing. And then smoke duty, get them from the cabins, take them to the room to have a smoke. It all just became, which, we hadn't dealt with it, so we were all just figuring things out. But we just had to switch from like, okay, how are we going to get these passengers off board? So that was the thing, was like all of us crew, still humans, still also wanting to get off. We had to switch to like, okay, how can we help these guys? So it was a little bit chaotic in terms of that stress of things. I was never scared of COVID itself on board. Like I felt fine, felt safe. It was just the annoyance, I don't like saying annoyance, sorry, but like it was just the stress of like the uncertainty. Like I was very lucky to have a Kiwi guy in the cast, so he was a really good friend of mine, and we had to say goodbye to all of a majority of our cast were from the UK, and so they immediately sent these guys a charter flight, so they got to leave. So that first was the first stress of like the unknown of like not seeing our like best mates anymore. So that was the first stress. And then it was like, okay, how are we getting home? And they were like, we might put you on Canada's charter flight. So we're like, okay, pack our lives up, waiting to like leave. And then they're like, New Zealand, no, you're not going. And so that was stressful. We were trying to figure out ways of how the heck we're going to get home, because there were only 3 Kiwis on board and they're not going to send us a charter flight. So it was just the stress of the uncertainty of like, how's this going to work out? How the heck are we going to get home? We can't go on a commercial flight. Are we stuck here? If so, I need to just be told. I remember it got to one point, and I'm unsure if this was, yeah. So what happened is we had to deal, I don't know how long it took. Basically, COVID hit 3rd of March, ended up getting off 25th of April. So we went through the crazy period of just having to accommodate for the passengers. Once all the passengers had gotten off, I'm unsure if we actually got all of them off, but once they had gotten off, we had to prepare ourselves for a quarantine. So we went into quarantine for 2 weeks. We got to go up to passenger cabins. So it was, although, being stuck in rooms not fun, we had a balcony and stuff like that. So it was all good. And then it was after quarantine, we had no news like of where we were going next. And we thought, at least we would have had that. But we didn't. So me and my friend, we went to the captain. We're like, right, we're going to go talk to the big boss. And then he was like, so it's looking like you guys might be stuck on board until this whole thing is over. Right. And we were like, oh, okay. Sheesh. So yeah, that was a lot. And I was like, well, I'm stuck here now. Like, settle in. Yeah. So that was my mindset. I was like, okay, right. I've been told now. And then literally like a couple of days later, they were like, you can go on a commercial flight now. I'm like, okay. So it was the whole like craziness around that period of time for me was like, yes, no, you're going, you're not going, pack your bags, unpack your bags. So that was the intensity around it. But anyway, came back home, and
So what did you learn about yourself? If I'm making some connections here, connecting dots. Given that you sort of talked previously about some anxiety about being away from home, and here you are with all this uncertainty and chaos, right?
That's true.
But from what you've just said, seeming to be like coping admirably with it and just accepting it and just going with it.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself during that period?
I think I'm quite chill with dealing with crazy circumstances. I don't work myself up. Although there were a couple times I got upset, it wasn't so much about what really was going on. It was I think I just worked myself up in certain situations about the yes, no. And I was like, I just need to I need to know. But once it got to the point of like, okay, it is what it is at the moment, I was like, right, got to deal with it. So yeah, I still am. I'm quite chill if it comes to an annoying situation.
Yeah. So I mean, I think what I'm sort of gleaning from that is that it was probably a period of time where you were forced to. It was going to go one of two ways, but you went the right way in that you learned how to cope with stress.
Yeah.
And deal with it.
Good.
So has that kind of been beneficial to you since? I mean, from a career point of view, have you changed in any way, shape, or form? Do you think you're a bit more relaxed about things?
Yeah, I haven't thought about it, but I would say so, for sure. And just like thinking about how I was the couple years beforehand, if I was in those stages of my life and that was put in that, gosh, like who knows how I would have been. That would have been probably really, really hard. So yeah, no, I it has taught me to go with the flow. Go with the flow of life.
Yeah.
I think.
All right, cool. So talk to me about the flow of life since then, right? So
yes.
That was 2020. Yeah.
It's been a wild few years. So came back home. I think it was coming out of the other side for New Zealand by the time I got home, so it was all good. What did I do? I ended up I don't know how long into the year, but I ended up booking a tour, an ABBA tribute tour that I did. So that was cool. What I will take from that specific experience is the people I met. I've got really great, talented friends from there, although I won't rate the management of that touring company. So I did that. And then I moved to Christchurch for like 6 months. I think after that cruise experience, after doing that travel with a more confident headspace, I ended up becoming like, just okay, do whatever and go for it. So after that tour, I was like, I'm going to move to Christchurch. Don't know why. So I moved to Christchurch.
That was going to be my question. Why Christchurch?
Well, there was my headspace, I think, if I recall right, was that there were a bunch of musicians from that tour that were from Christchurch, and I thought kind of the scene there was pretty decent. So I was like, I obviously want to move out of Whakatāne. So why not Christchurch? I don't like Auckland. So Christchurch. So I moved to Christchurch for 6 months. And I just got myself a cafe job and didn't put myself out there at all. So it didn't go to plan.
So it didn't go to plan. What was the plan and why didn't it go as well as you should? I
didn't think it through properly, really. I don't know. I think the plan for me was that I just wanted to put myself out there more, go into a little bit more of the the gig scene. There's a professional musical theatre company down there to audition for that. So my mind was like, okay, there's quite a lot of music opportunities down there, but I didn't do the hard yards and put myself out there whatsoever. I don't know. I just did auditions that came up, but there's a lot more you need to do besides just auditioning. So
like what?
Going out, meeting musicians, maybe going to open mic nights or emailing, being like, hey, can I do a gig at your venue? Like these are
the things you should have been doing, right?
Yeah, I really should have.
Did you know that at the time, or is that retrospectively you know now that you should have been doing it? Did you?
I think part of me knew, and then part of me was just like, I got stuck in this little comfort of being at the flat and then going to work. I don't know. I also, I just don't think it was the best choice or living situation for me. But yeah, we live and we learn.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting, isn't it? What causes us to sort of not derail ourselves, but kind of, right? So you had an opportunity, you moved down there because you felt like there were opportunities down there. Mm-hmm. What I was going to say is, you've gone to Christchurch with the intention of trying to get into that scene down there because you felt there was opportunities, but then you've kind of not done the things that you knew that you should do that would make that happen. Was there something going on for you at that point in time, or was it a COVID lag issue? I'm interested in understanding where the energy and enthusiasm and passion and drive went.
I don't think I was mentally strong at that point. I was, as well as just being in a new city in general, me and my partner had split. So there was that also. Although that shouldn't have held me back, I think just maybe my energy, my strength wasn't quite there. And I, for some reason, I don't know, I was confident in musical theatre at that time. I wasn't confident in your standard gigs that you will go and see at a bar or I guess more pop stuff. I wasn't super confident in that, and I knew the people that was around me had a lot of experience in that, and so there was doubt, I think. So it was a little bit of like a probably don't want to fail. Don't want to fail. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out myself.
It's interesting, isn't it? How our minds work for us. So it prevents us from doing things so that we don't fail, but by not doing things, we're actually failing. The reason why we went there.
Yeah.
But it's that self-preservation thing, isn't it? It's like kind of don't put yourself out there to fail. Let's just not do it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird, really, isn't it?
It is weird. I'm still unsure why I didn't put myself out there whilst I was there, but I'm just like, well,
was there a combination of factors? Though you talked about a relationship breakup as well, and again, you've had the coming out of COVID, you had all of that should have been the cruise kind of journey for you, part of your journey.
Yeah.
Cut short, you come back to COVIDsville in New Zealand, and now you're away from home again in Christchurch. It was a combination of factors.
Yeah. No, I do think it was a combination. I can't figure it out because I'm such a different person now to what I was then. So me now, I'm like, come on, girl, like, why did you not? Like, you were right in the hub of the city. Like, you could have gone out and done so much more. But combination of factors. And
so how long ago was that? Was that 2020 or 21?
21.
Yeah. Okay.
21.
All right. Yeah. And so in the couple of years since then, you've obviously came back home from
Yes.
Christchurch. So you were back to Whakatāne.
Yeah. I was only there for about 6 months. Did a big old South Island trip, so it was well worth it because I hadn't seen the South Island and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, came back to Whakatāne. I kind of had a headspace of I want to move to Auckland. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and do it because I was so anti-Auckland. I don't know why. But then we got another round of the fun times. So that kind of held me back. Trying to think of what I did in that. So that would have been mid 2021. I'm unsure what did I do? I don't know what I did.
I think, you know what? I think most people feel that.
Yeah.
Like during that COVID period, you know,
Yeah.
it's like I can't remember. It's like 2 years of your life have just kind of been wiped clean from your memory. It's like I don't remember when that was. It's gone a concept of time.
Yeah.
Can't remember what I did. I think the fact that we were doing nothing, just like there were no kind of memories to attach things to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all just the same.
It was
Shite, wasn't it?
Big old blur. All I can say is that when that second time came around, and it obviously got a lot more hectic for everyone, but also New Zealand, is that I then became restricted to be able to do a lot of what I wanted to do.
You mean, sorry, prevented from doing what you wanted to do? Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
well, I didn't get the vaccination, so I
yeah.
was limited in my music career and specifically musical theatre because they and musical theatre and film, they came in hard with requirements. But I chose to stick to my guns, just health wise because I'm a little bit of a hippie. But so then that's when my songwriting came to life because I was like, let's try something different. Let's do it. Songwriting was never in my focus. I wouldn't say I'm not fantastic with my. I don't want to say my English because it's my language, but like just explaining myself, I'm not very literate. So I was like, I can't songwrite. Oh my gosh, I have to speak in like metaphors and things like that. Like I can't do that. But I was inspired by some of my friends that were doing it, and I was like, okay, just put your big girl pants on and give it a go. So I had some help with the first tune I created, and then all of a sudden one night I wrote my debut single that's out, Gotta Let Go, and one night by myself on the keys and singing, and I was like, oh, I wrote a song and I like it. So that's when that spark happened. And this whole new journey that I've gone on since mid 20 no that was more that would have been 2022 that I started writing, beginning of 2022, and since then my whole music path has just gone in a different direction, and it's been epic. I love it.
Cool. That's awesome. That's what I want to talk to you about.
Obviously.
It took a while to get there, but it's good to have the context of where you've come from, who you are, and the journey to where you are today.
Yes.
So, and if we can, I'm also interested in talking to you in a little bit more detail. I've done this with other people as well. I'm just fascinated by the whole songwriting process.
Yeah.
Where do you start? Where it's like, what are you? How do you create something from scratch? Do you have something in mind? Is there an event you write about? Is there an emotion you're tapping into? And for you, like you've said, it was never going to be a thing for you.
Yeah.
But then you just started. What was that process like? How do you go about writing a song?
All my music is pretty much based on things I've experienced, my emotions that I've had to deal with. So yeah, it's easier that way because you're writing your truth on the paper.
So talk to us about that debut song then that you wrote in a night.
Gotta let go. Yeah.
Gotta let go.
Yeah.
I've listened to your music on Spotify, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I think you've got a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
And so talk to us a bit about that. So you wrote it in a night.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that song about, and how did you kind of come up with that?
So it's about letting go of a past love. So yeah, if you've heard the song, the chorus is about that letting go. Gotta let go. And then it gets quite more raw when it hits the bridge. The verses are a little bit more bouncy, a little bit flirty, more about, trying to get out there and trying to meet new people, getting back that confidence again. So it's about that, because my relationship I was talking about was a beautiful relationship. So I'm not going to be out there writing a hate song about it, because it was beautiful. And so I've got such a high standard to who I will next welcome into my life. So it's which it makes it harder, because I'm comparing a lot. So that's basically what that song is about, just the whole process of moving on and the struggles.
Yeah. But the comparing thing is what we do, though, right? It's how we land in a relationship, in a permanent relationship, full time one, is because we compare it, and then we know that we've got a good one or not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's where the lyrics came from. How did you kind of, so did you write a kind of tune first, or did you write the lyrics and then put a tune to it? What way around did you do it?
So I started at the second pre-chorus. So I was on my keyboard at the time, and I was just playing around with notes and chords. And then the pre-chorus came to my mind, which was, you make me feel like I haven't been touched in a long time. So that came to my mind, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then that fell into the chorus. And so then I had a bass to work off. So then I went back and I was like, okay, let's start writing verses. So, and to change up the chords a little bit slightly, and then yeah. And once I started, that experience was just crazy to me, because here was me being like, I could never songwrite. And then that happened, like, it was so quickly. I might be exaggerating when I say 10 minutes, but it was just like everything just came out super quick. And that's because I'm writing about true, genuine emotions.
Stuff you know about, right?
Yes, yeah. So, yeah.
And so you write that song in a night.
Yeah.
And you're happy with it.
Yes.
Which is cool. I'm also interested. Do you still then kind of play around with it, or are you happy with it? Do you leave it?
I'm happy. I'm happy with it. But my friends, my musicians that I work with from Auckland, like to play around with things. So I was singing one night, and the keys guy that plays with me, he was like doing some like fun different things with it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I haven't thought about changing things up, but I mean, it could happen.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about the actual creative process. I mean, I think if I was the kind of person who was like, say, for instance, if I painted that picture on the wall behind you, I don't know whether I'd get to a point where I think, yeah, that's done, or I'd be like, just do that bit, constantly tweaking. Nothing would ever be finished, I don't think.
Yeah.
That's part of my problem, by the way. But so I just wondered whether is it like, no, I've written that. It is what it is.
No, what I did do with Gotta Let Go, because it was, my first song, was my baby. I was going to go record it. One of my beautiful friends who's a performer, she had done songwriting. Her name's Kristen. Shout out to Kristen. And so I went and I was hanging out with her one night, and I was like, okay, I want to show you the song. And then she was like, can we play around with it? Can we do a little bit of tweaking in terms of the lyrics? So we sat down and we took some stuff out, because what I had done in the original first version is just like trying to get so many words, trying to get so many words out. And she's like, you don't need to say that much, Hannah. so we kind of tweaked it back, still the exact same storyline. Everyone still gets the same message. I'm just not saying so much because I don't need to say so much. So
that was a useful insight then. You got, I think, useful advice, I should say, from your friend. That was...
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very lucky with who I'm surrounded with, music-wise. Very grateful. So they've helped me a lot.
Yeah. Well, they say, don't they, that you kind of become a version of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. So you kind of want to hang around with good musicians, don't you? Good songwriters. Yeah. So you got your first song under your belt. Yeah. And so what are you thinking at this point around what you're going to do with it? Is this, are you now, and you said earlier that you sort of, your career was going in a slightly different direction.
Yes.
At what point in time do you think, actually, I'm going to be a singer-songwriter? Was it at that point?
Well, before I had recorded my first song, I had written like a bunch of songs, not a bunch, sorry, let's say a handful. And so, I don't know, I was still probably self-doubting a little bit until it got to maybe my third song that I released. Sorry, where was I going in that?
Yeah, well, I was asking about whether, at what point did you decide, actually, that's what I'm going to be, a singer-songwriter?
That I'm a singer-songwriter. Yeah. I don't know, actually. I'm definitely in that headspace now, but I'm unsure when that, like, clicked for me. Because it was, like, me releasing that first song, my headspace was more so like, this is such an accomplishment, as opposed to, like, this is now my path, and I want to make money from that. I want to live off this. It was more like, this is such a cool thing to say that I've done. I've got music out there, and it's going to be out there forever. So I don't want to say hobby because it wasn't a hobby, but it was. I wasn't full on focused in that. It was.
So you sort of, I suppose, going from what you were saying about being kind of musical theatre, never thought you'd be a songwriter, didn't think you could be.
Yeah.
So you had a sense of achievement in at least knocking one off, but obviously doing a pretty good job of it. So therefore you felt that I could just keep doing this, right? So did you kind of move towards, this is what I want to do, rather than musical theatre, doing the tribute bands or the cruises? Actually, what I want to do now is this, or is it still a bit of
a
mix?
Both. It's still both. I'm also think it's one thing I've always wanted to be is versatile. Prior to songwriting, like I've always wanted to be able to do several genres. I've wanted to be able to accommodate for all walks of life, and I've been fortunate in who I've been able to perform in front of. That I feel like I've got that. So being able to be a songwriter and release my own music is just another thing that I can say that I can do, and doesn't mean I want to close off my musical theatre. It's just like I've got. It's cool to be able to do both for me, because music it doesn't have to be, but it can be unstable. So I now have the ability to be able to, like, if I don't have a musical theatre contract, let's start writing some music, or let's get out there and do some gigs, kind of thing. So it's quite cool.
Can I just ask a question and push back on this? But I'm just interested because of the conversation we had before we started this, and also since during this conversation. But so is that a kind of plan A, plan B scenario, or is it not? I mean, I'm just testing a little bit. Is that does the same principle apply here, that you've kind of got both and you can edge your bets a little bit? But is that preventing you from really fully achieving in one area, or not?
No, no, I wouldn't say so. With songwriting, I don't know. They both work in within each other, I would think. And they're both helping me grow as a performer. So like some aspects that I've now got from my songwriting and from performing my own music, or just even just doing covers, singing covers in a way that I hadn't done before, energy-wise and just performance-wise. Like that, what I've learned from that, I can bring into my theatre, and vice versa. Because of my theatre background, I'm a big storyteller, and so I think that's a great skill to have, because there's nothing worse. Not nothing worse. Sounds horrible, but you don't want to watch someone and there's like nothing there, because you're like, do you like what you're doing? Like that's what I would think if I'm watching someone that's just like bland, or like there's nothing there. So it's not a plan A or a plan B. It's just more that I can add into this whole musical journey that I've got.
Good answer.
So thank you.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. No,
Got
that's
that
good. That's good. And I suppose the other thing as well is that I know, because I've talked to other people about it, it's tough, right, to try and break into an industry like the music industry and actually make it. There's so many people want to do it. Only a few do make it fully as a full-time career. Yeah. Very successful. Doesn't mean to say it's, as we've discussed, it's not possible. Of course it is possible. Otherwise we wouldn't have music. But there is an element of you kind of have to sustain yourself while you're achieving in that direction, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. Like some of the more well-known bigger artists here in New Zealand will have a side hustle. It's tough. It's really hard, and it's unstable. And obviously living and everything else that comes along with life, sometimes you need that little side hustle that mightn't be what you love, but gets you the groceries. Or
sure. I think, you know what, I think most people in life today, with the cost of living the way it is, need a side hustle, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So especially in the career that you've chosen. So, do you get much of that, as in people asking you, so what do you do? And then, no, but what do you really do? And the reason I ask that is because we've had conversations like that with other people on this show.
Yeah. Yes, no, I do get that. Not as much lately. But I still get unsure what to say. Like even I flew to Aussie beginning of June, and when it says like what's your occupation on the little
the customs card.
Card, I was like, hey, what do I put? I'm not making coffee anymore. So like now I've been putting down like musician and things like that, and it's weird. But yeah, no, definitely. I feel like, but what I should probably stop, but what I feel like I do is I jump in before they have the opportunity to ask. I'll be like, I'm a singer and I perform, but sometimes, I make coffee, gotta make an income. So like I'll jump in there before someone has the chance to be like, what do you do?
Yeah. No, I had an interesting conversation with the author Lee Murray on this show. And, she fully committed to saying, I'm a writer. Yeah. She got to a point in her life, there was a long period before this where she didn't fully commit to it. And I think at one point she had an ultimatum from her husband. If you're going to do this, just do it. That kind of thing. Yeah. And then fully committing to saying, no, I'm a writer. Yeah. And then when people said, but what do you really do? No, I'm a writer. And that, that kind of psychological commitment to doing it.
Absolutely.
And also, I suppose, your identity drives your behavior. So how you identify yourself to others drives how you behave as well, which then leads to outcomes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fully committing and saying you're a musician, you're not stretching the truth in any way. You are a musician, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've listened to your music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you are a musician. And so you should be able to just label yourself as what you feel you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's true.
And not justify it to anyone.
Yeah. No, that's so true. It's weird to think about it, because I would say I'm pretty confident in what I do, but that small little conversation with someone, I'm like, oh, why am I not confident in that?
Yeah. Maybe it's just time and getting used to.
Yeah.
Like you said, filling out the customs form. Well, what should I be putting there? You know?
I feel like they're going to question me.
Yeah.
Are you really?
But the answer is yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. There's no doubt about
Look
it.
at my music.
Exactly. So you can have that confidence.
Yeah.
So in relation to your career now,
Yes.
where are things at for you, and where do you want them to be? Where are you heading?
Well, who knows where I'm heading, really?
What do you do? You tell me where you're going. Where do you want to be? What's the destination you're looking at?
Well, yeah, no, like I do get asked the question, like, what ideally would you want is your goal? And my answer has been like anything performing. I love theater. I love doing my own music now. And so it's anything performing. I loved being on cruise. But I'm starting to think about it a little bit more. It's tricky, but there is nothing like singing your own lyrics that you've written and like it touching people's souls. So there is quite nothing like that. So I think, I don't know, that would be pretty special to make a living off of just being Eve Kelly, the artist. But also I would miss musical theatre. So it's really it's a tricky one for me. At the moment I'm literally I'm going with the flow. I'm quite the hustler now in terms of like emailing and annoying the heck out of people, being like, hey, can I do a gig? Hey, can I do a gig? Done it so much lately. But I've managed to be pretty busy. My most weekends are full of gigs, which is awesome. And now I've got a musical theatre gig booked near the end of the year. So it's just honestly for me at the moment, I'm just taking it like as it comes, taking it contract by contract or just.
I suppose if I could just pick up on that right there a little bit. I get what you're saying about taking it as it comes, but you're making things happen though, right?
Yes.
Conversely to where you were in Christchurch, where you
absolutely
were waiting for things to come.
Absolutely.
Now you're pushing for things to come.
Yeah, that's why I say I'm a whole other person. Like through doing my own music, through hanging out with these musicians in Auckland and doing gigs with them, just my confidence has picked up so much. And I'm just like, I'm not waiting around for gigs. Like I'm there like, hey.
Yeah.
Although it could annoy some people. I'm doing pretty well thus far.
No, that's good. That's good. So if we were to zoom forward in, say, like 10 years' time.
Yeah.
It's a long way. Maybe 5 years' time.
Right.
5 is a bit more manageable, right?
Maybe.
Not too much of a stretch. What will you be doing in 5 years' time? If you had, the ability, and you do, to be able to make things happen so that you can create the life and lifestyle that Eve Kelly would really like to have, what would that look like in 5 years' time?
It's difficult because I'm literally switching between. Ideal circumstance, I think, would be overseas. I'm leaning towards Aussie at the moment, but I also loved being in the UK. So that is, let's just say Aussie for the minute. Doing in a musical theatre contract. Being in a musical theatre contract, once you've gotten over the whole rehearsal period, you do have some time during the day. So like during the day, be songwriting. Because I wouldn't be using I might be using my voice. So keeping up with the Eve Kelly artists, doing some songwriting, maybe trying to get some recordings in there to release some more music to keep Eve Kelly going, as well as being in a contract, which would be in musical theatre, which I love, which I'm very, very passionate about, but would also, bring in a steady income, which could help also with, paying for recordings. So there we go. There's my 5-year plan.
Sure. Yeah. And what kind of musical theatre? What kind of show would it be?
Oh gosh.
Let's get specific about it. Right? We're putting it out there.
I struggle with that question when people are like, "What's your favorite musical?" I'm like, I don't know.
But if you kind of visualize your life in 5 years' time, or in a year's time, it could be. You probably. You must be laying there at some point in time daydreaming about what what it's going to be like, what that contract could be, the big contract that you would be like winning lotto for you, what would it be?
It constantly changes, but right now with what came to mind is a musical I feel like I could nail. Is Beautiful, the musical, which is a story about Carole King. I feel like I could be Carole King. Like I could be that character. So that's what came to mind. Although I love the classics. I love the Les Mis or Phantom or anything like that. I love those classics. But that's just what came to mind right now. So let's roll with that.
Roll with that. Excellent. All right. Well, look, is there anything that we need to know about Eve Kelly before Eve Kelly becomes too big a star that we can't talk to and ask?
Oh, absolutely. Bound to happen. Anything you need to know. Follow me on my Instagram at evekelly.music. Because
nice plug.
Yes, exactly. I'm constantly updating everyone, annoyingly so, on my stories there. Love to chat to everyone. And I'm currently in the process of wanting to record some more music. So keep an eye out. Eve Kelly on all platforms.
Nice. Love your work. Awesome. Hey, Eve, thank you so much again for taking time out to come and visit us today. I know you've traveled from Whakatāne to be here, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed our conversation. It's been an interesting story so far, and I can't wait to see what it looks like in the future as well. I wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.